Diane and Denmark here, rah rah rah. Happy Tuesday morning. I hope you're fine and well. I am full of the joys of spring because beautiful sunshine here in Denmark, and I was out having dinner with my very good friend Catherine last night. I haven't seen Catherine obviously for weeks, and some of you were saying, oh, you had dinner in the city, how can that be possible? I'll give you a quick update on the latest easing of lockdown here in Denmark, because I promised you that. But first things first, I hope you're getting on well with our Making the Most of May, the little project that I'm running with Steph, my friend Steph the Secret Slob. I went a bit crazy over the weekend with my sewing machine. I told you I had found some fabric and I've been making some cushions to brighten up the garden. I already had the inners, so I've just been making some basic pillows. And a tablecloth and other stuff. Anyway, I'll be doing a wee update about that later this week. Tuesday, what are you going to do on a Tuesday? Tuesday in Flylady Land, as I like to call it, is plan and play day. So maybe you want to take your timer today. You know, we're not planning all day, we're just spending a few minutes. Set your timer for 10 or 15 minutes. What is coming up? Have you got a birthday coming up? Wedding anniversary? You know, what's in the calendar? Is there anything that you need to plan? I plan my menus, and I have started adding my menu plan to my blog. You know, I've dusted off my old blog, dianedenmark.com, and I know many of you have already found your way there. So if you want to see what we are having for dinner this week, it's on my menu plan. I'll put it up on the blog as soon as I've finished filming this video. And this week we're doing something a wee bit different. I found a really great recipe book at the library. Now it's a Danish one, but it's actually a translation of a British recipe book. Anyway, if you're interested, it'll be on my menu plan blog post. And I'm at dianedenmark.com, so there are. Oh, and I meant to say, if I've been posting some things when I wasn't making videos at the end of last week. We had the Ascension holiday. If you are subscribed to my channel here, and if you've pressed that bell thing for the notifications, if I put on something on the community tab, as it's called in YouTube, you'll get a notification. So if you're not already getting that, you have to actually press the subscribe and the notification bell, and that way you will see, oh, the menu plan is ready, or I've made a tiny video over the weekend. So that's where to find that. Anyway, what else was I say? On Tuesday, yeah, so just the whole thing of this plan and play on a Tuesday is not the whole day. We're just looking ahead. And one of the things that I usually do on a Tuesday as part of plan and play is planning to meet up with a friend. And last night I was meeting up with friend Catherine. It was a beautiful summer night in spring evening in Copenhagen. And just a very important reminder here, I'm telling you what's going on in Denmark. You follow the guidelines in your country. Things may look very different where you are. I get a lot of questions about the wearing of masks. In Denmark, the guidelines that we have, we're recommended not to wear masks unless, of course, you are in a specific group. So follow what is going on in your country, you know, and it's very, very important that we follow our local guidelines, okay? Now, as you can see, people are out and about in the streets, sitting, having dinner at a cafe, and it felt quite surreal for me because I haven't been into the city, you know, for weeks. I'm just kind of living in my little bubble here in the village. But I travelled, I biked down to the station, and from the station I took the subway train, and then I changed to the metro, and I was meeting Catherine. And in the metro and in the subway, there are very clear guidelines of how to conduct yourself when you're travelling by public transport, because of course, you know, we've got the physical distancing still very much in force, and you know, which way to sit and how to sit if you are with others. So, and I'll put the photos up there just for fun. And I'll just give you a quick rundown of the latest facts and figures here. And we're on to, I think we're on to phase 3 or 4 of the easing of the lockdown. Now, I've made videos when we went into lockdown, and they're all in my playlist somewhere. And at the time we were locked down very early, beginning of March. We had like 1 or 2 cases of the virus here, and it seemed very surreal. I mean, in the space of a week we were shut down, and it seemed very surreal at the time. But with hindsight, it seems to have worked, the Danish measures. Anyway, and I'll just give you the actual facts and figures for this morning. Denmark is a population of just under 6 million, so we're around the same size as my country, my home country, Scotland. Scotland's a wee bit lower population than Denmark. Anyway, Denmark is just under 6 million inhabitants. At the moment we have 11,000 cases, we have 9,000 recovered cases, and 563 deaths. So and if you want to know what the percentage is, you know, per million, because of course your country may be way bigger or way smaller, the death rate here is just under 5%. That's the per million. Oh, sorry, wrong figure. The death rate here is around 5%, and the number of deaths per million people is 97 per million. So there you go. If you want to see what the statistics are like in your own country. So as I said, we were locked down very fast beginning of March, and we started easing the lockdown a few weeks ago. I told you that the youngest kids were going back to school. Now, and as I said before, when I say, you know, they're now back at school, they're not back at school as how they were before. Most of the teaching is done outside. They're not in for the same number of hours, so it's a very different school day, but they are back at school. So we started off with the youngest kids going back to school, youngest kids and nursery and kindergarten. Those were the first things to open. Small businesses were allowed to open, and then after that the older school kids were allowed to go back to school. But again, as I said, they're probably not in the same classroom. Most of the teaching will be outside. They may still have a lot of online classes, so it's not, as I would say before, it's not life as we know it, Jim. It's a completely new normal that we have here. The next ease of the lockdown was allowing shops and cafes to open, again under very strict guidelines. It's not just again a free-for-all, okay, everybody can open up now. And if you've seen any of if you've been in any of the shops here in Denmark or cafes since the opening up, you will see that things look physically different. There'll be less tables and chairs. A lot of knickknacks have been removed. For example, at the hairdressers, you know, normally have magazines, plants, and all the kind of hygge things. Everything is now, you know, been pared down to a bare minimum to make it easier for the cleaning. So we've got strict guidelines about hygiene, the number of people that can be in a shop or a cafe. So it's all with that in mind. Professional sport was able to be practiced again. Here in Denmark, that's things like Premier League football. Obviously no spectators yet, but they're allowed to play football. What else? Shopping malls are open again, but of course with restrictions. Private businesses, we've got more people who are back at work. Though a lot of people are still, of course, working from home, including my husband. The distancing guidelines has changed since the beginning of lockdown. They were saying in the beginning 2 meters, and if you've seen any of my skinny dipping photos, you know, when I'm out with my besties, we're still feel comfiest with the 1 to 2 meters, and we sit on our own bench. And the current guidelines are around 1 meter is okay, but of course if you're queuing or things like that, you're all queuing in the same direction. You know, you're not kind of face to face with people. And of course, if you are ill, or if you're showing any kinds of symptoms, or if you are in a high-risk group, you will not be moving out amongst the general population. And if everybody can now be tested for corona, they've opened up for everybody. So that's basically the state of play. The things which kind of affect me: libraries reopened last week. You can only hand in your stuff at the library, browse the shelves and borrow. None of the other library services that we usually have. Usually people study at our libraries. We have small cafes. We have a lot of reading groups, knitting groups, mothers groups. There's lots of activities going on. Obviously those are not allowed yet. And the next date that we have for possible opening up of gatherings of more than 10 people. At the moment it's 10 people. You're not allowed to be in your own home or outside with more than 10 people. They're thinking probably the date will be the 8th of June, where they are thinking that will be opened up to around 30 to 50 people gathered in one place, which will allow people to have confirmation parties, weddings, things like that. So that's the state of play at the moment. There are some things, obviously, and these are going to make sense to you, but which are not open at the moment, and the dates for those probably August. But with any of these things, well, I'll tell you what they are. Obvious things like discos and nightclubs, those are not opening anytime soon. Indoor fitness, swimming pools, again, they're working towards the date of August, and kids play parks, things like that. So all of those dates all those dates that I've given you, those are on the proviso that things keep moving along well here, that we keep respecting the physical distancing, because we are, bracing for a second wave of the virus. So if things, suddenly change, that the government will step in and those can be reversed. So we're just taking it one day at a time. Like with everything else, moving slowly forward, one foot in front of the other. And I should just mention to you, I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm actually doing my self-pamper right here, right now. I don't normally show you my feet, but here we go. And I'm not wearing my lace-up indoor shoes today because, look at this, I've got my pamper socks on at the moment. And I'll show you that they're one of these softening socks that I got as a gift. Actually, they feel really weird to have on. I'll just take one off and I can show you. And I'm just sitting here for the 10 minutes I'm making the video and having my little pamper. And it feels like putting a kind of a plate of jelly on your feet. But not an unpleasant sensation. So I'm just sitting here doing that. So just a wee reminder, don't wait till the end of the day to get your little self-preservation in. Maybe you can, wear a sentimental piece of jewellery. I'm channeling my granny today with my granny's crystals. I mean, if you've got granny's crystals, or, a nice pair of earrings that was given to you, why have you got them stashed at the back of the wardrobe gathering dust? Enjoy wearing them, so I'm honouring my granny today, channeling my granny. Any other news? I don't think so. No, I'll check in with you later this week, but with various other stuff. But I want to get on with my Tuesday, so have a great Tuesday. Plan and play, maybe get those menus done, and that's reminded me I shall update our menu plan as soon as I've finished this video. So anyway, live long and prosper. May the Danish hooker be with you. I hope you've enjoyed, and I've got the bedroom window here. I hope you enjoyed the sound of the birds outside, a bit of construction work, and a wee shake of the pom-poms to set you on your merry way. So rah, rah, rah. Bye for now.